Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Parinama Yoga Online. We're going to be discussing self-care of the mouth and the oral cavity according to the Ayurvedic tradition. And I may recommend these kinds of things to you in your Ayurvedic plan that you've received. So let's discuss it. There are two things I want to discuss today, and that is oil pulling and scraping the tongue. We'll start with scraping the tongue because scraping the tongue should be done every morning, basically as soon as you wake up. So you wake up, you brush your teeth, you floss, you take care of your regular dental health. And then what you want to do is that you want to scrape your tongue. So you stick out your tongue as far as you can, and you use a very specific tool to scrape the tongue from back of the tongue to front of the tongue several times. And depending on the size of your tongue scraper and the size of your tongue, you may need to start in the right side of your tongue and work your way down. Do that 1 or 2, 3 times until it comes clean. Then maybe the center of the tongue from the very back of the tongue as far as you can comfortably reach back, and scrape down the center of the tongue 2 or 3 times. And you'll see a bunch of stuff coming off your tongue that you wouldn't believe. So once you see this, you're never going to not want to scrub your tongue again. And then the left side of your tongue, you start from the very back and pull the tool down from back to front. You don't want to apply too much pressure. You don't want to hurt your tongue, and you especially don't want to hurt your taste buds because you want to get all the way back towards your taste buds. We want to keep the tongue free of any coating. Sometimes there are various coatings in the tongue. Thick white coating on the tongue indicates that there's ama in the body or various toxins, a buildup that creates disease. So if we have indigestion or anything, I mean, even if you don't have indigestion, you want to do this daily. But what happens if we don't scrape our tongue is that we swallow this mucus, and there's bacteria, virus, fungus in our tongues, believe it or not, that create bad breath. And if we don't scrape our tongue, then we start to swallow all this stuff back down our digestive tract, which creates more congestion, more blockage, so to speak, in our intestinal and digestive tracts. So this is something we want to focus on for mouth health in general, to increase our immunity in general, but also to balance our digestive system because we don't want to be swallowing all this stuff into our body, right? So as soon as you wake up, get up, wash your face with soap and water, brush your teeth, floss, freshen up before your meditation session, and then scrape your tongue. Again, 1 to 3 times in the right side of your tongue, 1 to 3 times in the center of your tongue, and 1 to 3 times in the left side of your tongue. And you rinse off that scraper. I do, Ayurvedically speaking, there are plastic tongue scrapers out there. There are copper ones that Ayurvedic texts recommend. And I realize that Ayurvedic texts recommend the copper, but really the best thing to do in this day and age, honestly, is to use a stainless steel tongue scraper. Let me show you a picture. This is what it looks like, and you have a link to buy this kind of tongue scraper in your Ayurvedic plan, and you see this person using a tongue scraper. You hold both sides in each hand, and you work down from the back of the tongue to the front of the tongue. Again, different tongue scrapers are different sizes, and you may need to work from right to center to left. But if it's a very wide tongue scraper, you can see like this person is doing, that you can scrape the whole tongue 1 to 3 times straight down the full surface of the tongue. So this is easy to use. You can wash it with soap and water, and it won't tarnish, it won't stain like copper does. Plastic is very not good to use, honestly, because more plastics don't need to be thrown into the garbage dumps over time. Metal is very easily recyclable if we decide to stop the practice or if we somehow have to dispose of it. You can also soak this in vinegar water with maybe a little bit of tea tree oil or something to sanitize it in between uses. But you definitely want to be mindful that you wash it regularly. At least once a week, you want to be sanitizing your tongue scraper. Otherwise, you're using an unsanitary tool to make your mouth sanitary. So I recommend to soak it daily in vinegar with tea tree oil. Even vinegar alone is enough. Rinse it off with water, and then at least once a week, wash it like you would wash your dishes with hot water and soap. Keep it sanitary so you're not introducing microbes into your mouth. So this should be done every day right away. As soon as you wake up, before meditation, this should be done. Okay. And that is how you scrape your tongue. Again, I just want to point out one thing before we move on to oil pulling, which is a pretty simple thing to describe. On the market, there are these kinds of tongue scrapers that you might already have. And I have used these before too, but really they're not as efficient as the traditional Ayurvedic tongue scraper we just showed, which again, I gave you a link in your Ayurvedic plan to use and where to find it, how to buy it, etc. These tongue scrapers tend to be not as efficient. They don't get all the mucus up right away like the other version we just showed. And also this is very abrasive for your taste buds. So you don't want to use these on your taste buds. They're very aggressive. So this is not what I recommend to use, but if it's the only thing you have at your disposal right now, start with this and then get the stainless steel version that I showed on the screen. Okay. And one thing I did want to say without making this video too long is that whenever you're recommended a nutritional plan to balance your dosha, yes, the minerals and the vitamins that we get from our food are very important for our health. But the healing benefit of food in large part comes from the taste of the food. This is called rasa in Ayurveda, taste, rasa. And there are 6 tastes. Let's see if I remember them all. Sweet, salty, sour, bitter, astringent, and pungent. Hopefully I got 6 there. And these flavors each they each increase or decrease the doshas in our body. So if you have a vata imbalance, then you're getting food that will decrease that vata imbalance. And it's done through certain tastes. Certain tastes increase vata and certain tastes decrease vata. For example, one taste that decreases vata is the sweet taste. And we're not talking about refined sugars. We're talking about the sweetness of beans, the sweetness of an apple, the sweetness of whole grain wheat. So it's different from processed sugars and sweet like we think of brownies and cakes. But anyway, those tastes, we want to make sure that our taste buds particularly are clean whenever we do our tongue, so that the taste buds can really appreciate the full flavor of our food. And that's why we want to take at least 30 minutes to eat. We want to chew very carefully. We want to fully taste and appreciate the taste of our food, because a lot of the balancing of our doshas come from appreciating the taste and fully tasting the flavor of our food. So moving on to oil pulling. Oil pulling is, again, something that's very strange for the Western mind, but it's something that's very good because it helps to flush out microbes from your mouth, food from your mouth, plaque from off of your teeth. So it's very important to do this regularly. You could do it daily or you could do it every other day. You should do it at least once a week. That's my recommendation. The more you do it, the better, right? The more you do, the more you get. But again, if it's discomforting for you or it's just not your favorite thing, then maybe do it once a week. So again, you use the sesame oil, the link and the kind of sesame that I put in your Ayurvedic plan. It doesn't have to be that brand, but it has to be that style of sesame oil. And if you have any questions, ask me. Again, sesame oil is good for all doshas, vata, pitta, and kapha, because it is tridoshic. It balances all doshas. But for me, sesame oil is not that great to put on my tongue. Doesn't taste that good. You can also use coconut oil. Organic cooking oil that is coconut oil. Looks kind of like, you open up the jar and it looks like white paste. That's the coconut oil you'll use. And that tastes so much better. And especially if you are a pitta person or you have a distortion of pitta that is causing your current issues, then you'll want to use coconut oil. So you would take maybe a teaspoon of sesame oil and put it in your mouth, and you swish it around just like you'd swish around mouthwash, traditional mouthwash. And you keep it in your mouth for 5 to 20 minutes. You work up to 20 minutes. For some people, it can be really hard to swish around this oil in your mouth for 20 minutes. So maybe start off with 2 minutes, then 3 minutes, then 5 minutes, working your way up to a full 20-minute session. And you want to be swishing that oil around in your mouth to really get it between your teeth, all over your gums, the top of your mouth, the body of the mouth, all the tissues in the oral cavity. This tonifies and cleanses it. It whitens the teeth by dissolving plaque or making it softer so you can then brush it off. A lot of people like to rebrush their teeth after they do oil pulling because they don't like the taste of the oil in their mouth. I tend to do that myself, rebrush my teeth just for a few moments to get that taste out of my mouth since I don't prefer it. If you're using coconut oil, you just take a spoon and you need just a teeny bit of it. You're going to notice whenever you take the oil, when you take a teaspoon of oil out, sometimes even that's too much. And you'll notice that it's harder to swish if there's too much oil in your mouth. So you might even want to use less than a teaspoon, use like a half of a teaspoon or a quarter of a teaspoon of the oil. And you want to swish it around in your mouth. So when you take the coconut oil, it looks a little bit weird because it's a solid rather than the liquefied sesame oil. But don't worry, just put that teaspoon of coconut oil in your mouth. It's going to melt in your tongue, then start swishing it around. Again, whether it's sesame oil or coconut oil, you want to keep it in your mouth up to 20 minutes. And then you want to spit it out into the trash can or maybe into your toilet to flush down the toilet the next time you use the toilet. You don't want to be spitting this oil down your sink. It'll start to clog the tubes of your sink. So don't spit your oil down the sink. Put it into the trash can that you'll take out, or put it into the toilet that you will eventually flush after you use the toilet. And that is how you do oil pulling for your mouth. So this is self-care rituals that I recommend to almost everybody. I can't think of anybody that I wouldn't recommend these two things on a regular basis for. So thank you so much for trusting me and including me in your Ayurvedic journey. I look forward to working with you soon, and I'll see you in the next video. Thank you so much.